Okay, so now we are officially recording. So again, thank you everyone so much for joining us today. This is our first Boma's Hidden Gems event. Without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to Kristen Beckman of RWK Services.
All right. So hold on, let me get my screen up. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Samantha. I really appreciate this. I'm a proud member of Boma Greater St. Paul. I'm a newer member, so anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Kristen Beckman, and I'm from RWK Services. We're located in Bloomington. But I also run a couple of different groups that are called KBZZ Ideas. And today we're going to talk a little bit about low sodium and heart healthy eating. So first, just a little bit of an introduction with who we are. Number one, I work for RWK Services. We're a national janitorial company with over 35 years in the cleaning industry. Also, on a separate note, I am KBZZ Ideas. So the first thing I want to talk about right away is that I am not an expert and I am not a doctor. This information comes from my over 7 years of personal experience and research that I have. I consider myself a home cook, a healthy food blogger, and my husband always likes to say, well, Kristen just likes to play with her food. So in this presentation, you're going to see information on low sodium and heart healthy options, and this is going to be interactive. I want you guys to talk and ask questions. So there'll be information on each slide, but there's also going to be a recipe that I personally cooked, some of my plates of food that are usually heart healthy, mostly clean is what I say, and they should be pretty heart healthy. The hardest part about eating low sodium is trying to navigate and find the options that you have for being able to eat heart healthy. So let's move on to RWK Services. This is my employer, and that's the reason why I'm in Boma. We do COVID-19 disinfections, not only nightly, daily, but we can also do emergency services if you have yourself a positive COVID case. We want to make sure that all of your staff feel comfortable in coming back. So please give us a call if you end up with a positive case of COVID in your building. We are also a certified green cleaning janitorial company, and we can customize any national or any nightly janitorial services for you. We provide day porter services, medical cleaning, terminal cleaning. If you have any carpet maintenance or any restorative hard surface floor BCT cleaning that you need, remediation, basically window cleaning, anything that you can find in the janitorial industry. So if there's any information you have, there'll be a link at the bottom to all of our services so that you can understand what we do during the day. At night, I cook meals like what we have here. This is a chicken salad that I meant. This is 2 portions. I did share this with my husband. There is 2 whole romaine hearts that are underneath all of that goodness. And from now on, I won't be addressing any of the recipes, but if you have any quick questions that you have regarding the recipes, please pipe up. I really want this to be interactive and ask questions. So why do I eat low sodium? Well, July 16th, 2019 is a really important day for me. My husband and I were driving to his band practice. His band had been offered an opportunity to play at Rockfest, which was his biggest musical career show that he was ever going to play. When we got to band practice, he got in, he started playing a song. And then my husband came to me and he was rubbing his chest and he was saying, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. Can you get me an aspirin? So we got him the aspirin and he kept rubbing his chest and he was sweating very profusely. And he's like, we got him the aspirin. He's like, take me to urgent care. So we took him to urgent care. On the way there, he asked me to run stop signs. He knew that there was definitely something wrong, that he needed to get care and he needed to get it right away. So we got into urgent care, and lucky for us, we were the only ones there. So they got us in a room right away with a doctor. They immediately called the paramedics to make sure that he was okay. Now his first EKG came back normal. Resting heart rate was 65, which is normal. So they were still concerned that there was a problem, but they weren't really sure what it was. The paramedics arrived and asked him some questions. And then they said, well, we really like to take you to the hospital. So which hospital do you want to go to? So we let them know. And at that point, they asked him to move, and he didn't. And then they asked him again to move. And then I watched my husband head roll back and his eyes roll back in his head, and he died right in front of me. Well, with that, luckily we had 2 paramedics and the urgent care doctor in the room. They asked me to leave. It took them 4 times to get his heart rate running again. We took him to the hospital. We were very grateful for the help that we got at North Memorial Hospital. They got him in for surgery. They realized right away that there was 100% blockage in his LAD. So the doctor came out to talk to us about the fact that he had had a widowmaker heart attack. That's the heart attack that, you know, gentlemen are mowing their lawn and they just drop dead. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time when he had his cardiac event to be able to get him help. But one thing that people may forget about or that they don't know is when the heart's not pumping, we're not getting oxygen to the brain. And if you're not getting oxygen to the brain for up to 7 minutes, there's not usually a good chance that you're going to come back from that. Now, luckily, they got him shocked 4 times and got his heart back beating, but they weren't sure, you know, how it was going to work. Unfortunately for my husband, he did not wake up after his surgery. So they had to bring him up to the ICU, and you'll see him here. This was my view for 3 days while he was in the ICU. They had to put him in a medically induced coma to be able to reduce his body temperature by 3 degrees for 48 hours and then to bring him back. Now, one thing I'd like to mention, my husband is only 42 years old. This is something that's happening more and more often. More young people are having cardiac events. This happened on a Tuesday. So Friday morning was the day that they woke him up out of his coma. When they woke him up, he was very childlike. He had been missing probably about 15 to 10 years. As we were asking questions, he still thought that we had a cat that had passed away 10 years ago. The memory thing was the biggest issue that we have, and we weren't sure how he would recover from that. He thought he was still in a band that he had been in 10 years ago. Luckily for me, we had been together for 17 years, so he still at least remembered me, but he wasn't quite sure of his surroundings and where he was. So he was moved into a regular hospital room for a few days, and then he did rehab. So his total stay in the hospital was 2 weeks. Each day, he got better and remembered more each time. However, to this day, he is still missing about 4 weeks of time before the event and at least 4 weeks after. We didn't know how bad it had been for going backwards until they told him that he was unable to drive because he had issues pathfinding and finding his way places. And then we told him he had to drive, and I'm like, oh no, well, you just bought a new Jeep last weekend. And he said, what? I bought a Jeep? I got a new car? He had no idea of the process. We had done the color run a couple weeks before that. He had no recollection of that either. So we were very grateful that he was released from the hospital on his 43rd birthday. The hardest part that we had was that the doctor said, we need him to eat a low sodium diet. He can eat up to 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day and heart healthy. And then they sent us home. No information, no dietitian. Sadly enough, I do a lot of counseling with folks on internet groups. This happens very, very often. We're just left alone to try to figure things out on our own. So what I've done here is to try to help you understand the sodium that we do eat, so that hopefully this isn't a view that you have to have of one of your loved ones after a cardiac event. So let's talk about the heart attack symptoms. We're talking about chest discomfort. Like I said, my husband was rubbing his chest. It comes in all different areas for different people. Sometimes it affects the arms, sometimes it affects the back, the low back, shortness of breath, the sweating, the lightheadedness. Now, I learned that you don't go to the urgent care when you're having a cardiac event, you go to the hospital. But this was our closest thing, and it was what he asked for, so I reacted. But please make sure that you go to the hospital and to the emergency room and not to urgent care with a cardiac event. Well, there's a couple things that you can do to reduce your chances, which is, limiting your alcohol. Smoking is one in 4 reasons that heart attacks happen. My husband was a smoker. He had quit cigarettes, but he was still smoking cigars at this time. Now he's completely given that up now, which is really great. And he's made a lot more healthy choices in the food that we eat, as you can see by this barbecued chicken stuffed sweet potato that we have with a salad. Reducing your cholesterol, watching out for those things. If you have diabetes, it puts you at a higher risk. Limiting your stress, keeping your body weight regular. But the things that we can't control is after we age past age 45, we have a tendency to be at a higher risk for heart. Gender, most men are at a higher risk, and then there's some genetics that are involved. So what does too much sodium feel like? If you're bloating or retaining water, especially in your lower extremities, that ankle area. I know you see it sometimes with elderly people. They get that large bloated ankle. That's something to really watch out for. Not being regular, headaches, thirst is another big one. Any kind of muscle twitches, blood pressure. Sodium is a magnet for water, and any kind of stomach ulcers can also put you work with your sodium. So does anybody have any ways that we can potentially reduce the risk? What do you think that they are? I'll pick on people if we don't answer. Maurice?
Healthy eating, exercise.
Yeah.
All that bad stuff.
That's great. So here's a few more. We kind of talked a little bit about this making sure, that we limit our alcohol, smoking, getting your blood pressure and your cholesterol checked on a regular basis. Hindsight is 2020. We saw all the signs after his heart attack that if we could have just caught it earlier, we may have been able to avoid this. Getting the blood pressure checked, going in every year, getting your cholesterol and blood pressure checked, that is key. 30 minutes of exercise is really key. American Heart Association says to try to get 10,000 steps per day, reducing stress, eating a cleaner diet with more fresh fruits, lean vegetables, and trying to go meatless. I think the biggest key that I can talk to people about food is your grocery store. When you think about your grocery store, it's usually in a square. Now, I try to tell people that your best bet is to get 80% of your food from the outside of the grocery store, because that's where your food is. That's where your dairy is. That's where your fruits and vegetables and your meats. The inside aisles are filled with processed and packaged items. The freezer section is even worse for the amount of loaded sodium and things that they put into your food. So if you can eat the majority from that outside, what they call the racetrack, and try to limit your processed foods, your condiments, and those things from the middle areas, you're going to be at a better success rate. We also try to say to keep your macros in check. We try to eat less than 25% fat. I know there's a lot of trendy people out there that are jumping on the keto fad diet, where you're eating 75 to 80% of your diet is fat. That is not recommended by most cardiologists. It increases your cholesterol, and your blood pressure can actually cause issues with your kidneys later on in life and other things. So we try to eat a higher protein, lean meat, and plant-based, and then moderate carb and low fat. And then limiting those processed and packaged foods and those canned goods where they use the sodium to be able to preserve the product. American Heart Association says that we need to eat no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. Ideal is about 1,500. Now, I will tell you that the average American eats between 3,400 and 5,000 milligrams a day. And it's just because they don't understand it, because they're probably not tracking their food. Unprocessed foods like eggs and vegetables and meats, which we'll find out later on, actually contain natural amounts of sodium. They're lower, which is butter. So, but I hear a lot of people say, well, this only has this much sodium because it's got this sauce in it, or it's got this piece in it. And they do forget that foods like an egg has 70 milligrams of sodium in it naturally. And that's okay when you're talking about 2,300 milligrams of sodium, but still, we want to be able to watch that. I personally use a food tracker, and I use MyFitnessPal. It's one that I've used for probably the last 6 years. It's a great way to find out really what's in your food, how much fat, how much protein, how much carb, but you also can look at your macronutrients like your cholesterol, your sodium, your potassium, your magnesium, fiber, good things that will be like that. Now, quick question. This is a big one that comes up a lot. Which one do you folks think has the least amount of sodium in these taco seasoning mix? Anybody?
I would throw a guess out there, but I know the answer.
Let's see here. Michelle, which one?
I make my own taco seasoning mix because I know they put a lot of stuff in there, but I'll say Ortega because I don't know.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a good guess because it says that it has 40% less. But what people don't understand is that just means 40% less than the original. Actually, the old El Paso with the 25% less, which is the lowest less sodium in the group, is actually the one that has the least amount of sodium. So when I'm out grocery shopping, I'm going to tell you, it takes me 3 times longer because every time I want to find a pasta sauce or a taco seasoning or something on that line, I'm literally turning all the packages over, and then I have to compare the serving size and the sodium itself to be able to understand what kind of sodium is in it. These sodium terms are really important. So very low sodium, reduce or less sodium, light sodium, or light in sodium all mean different things. A lot of folks just think less sodium is better. It is better. But the lower sodium that we can get, the better off we are, especially when it comes to packaged goods. Now, got another one here. Which one of these foods has the most amount of sodium? Eric?
I will go with broccoli.
The broccoli. Now, does anybody think that any of these items don't have sodium in them? Good. Every single one does. The broccoli actually is on the lower side. The artichoke and the carrot and the celery, are a little bit higher. Is anybody surprised by the amount of sodium that's actually in these vegetables and the fruit, the one fruit that I have on here?
I'm really surprised by the sodium in the carrots.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Things that you're like, oh no, that's perfectly healthy. Like you
Well,
would never.
it's supposed to be good for you and your eyesight and.
Right. And it has natural sodium. It's low. Again, if we're talking about, 2,000 to 2,300 milligrams a day, it's really a drop in a bucket, but it's really what you eat for the rest of the day. So, I mean, especially if you're thinking about let's talk about chicken soup. We're like, it's so good for us. And it's well, one of the reasons why we have chicken soup when we don't feel good or we're having issues is because the sodium makes us drink more water. The carrots and the celery and the chicken. The broth is where they really get you. But all of these things do add up. So when we're tracking our food, I don't just track the processed packaged food or the added salt, which by the way, we don't use the shaker in our house at all. We don't need to, and we can still, it's hard to stay under that limit. I'm going to tell you, it's really, really hard. But this is one of the reasons why we have a lot of problems with sodium. Our condiments and our salad dressings are loaded. I'm going to tell you, I don't know the last time I didn't use at least a half a cup of barbecue sauce when I, make my chicken. You put it on the chicken, then you dunk the chicken, in it later. And there's so much sodium. I tried to use a half a cup all the way across the board. I don't think most people use a half a cup of mustard in anything, but just so that you could see the range in what we have. Now, we used to have all of these things in our refrigerator, in our pantry. Now we only have the things that are on the far right. Terry Holmes Yum Yum sauce, especially the light, is really, really low in sodium. It's great on chicken. It's really good for vegetables too. It's that, like when you go to the hibachi place and they offer you the ginger or the Yum Yum sauce, that's what it is. And it's very, very good. It tastes great, but it's very low in sodium. Same thing with salad dressings. The thicker and the creamier, usually the higher sodium. I mean, we're in Minnesota. We put ranch on everything. So we really want to watch that. We still have ranch, but when we do, we try to limit it to a very, very small amount. We do a little bit more on the dunking versus the dumping on the salads. And usually we try to choose anything that's got a vinaigrette. Vinaigrettes are usually pretty small. And then the Skinny Girl balsamic and then the Bragg's vinaigrette, they're usually available at any kind of grocery store that you can get. Walmart, Target has them as well. They're really good options for changing up your salad dressings. Fast food. Who doesn't eat fast food? I was talking with Samantha yesterday about the fast food and the Taco Bell, and one of the things that had come up, it's like, when you go to Taco Bell, do you just get one beef crunchy taco? Normally we get the meal. We get 3 items or 5 items or 6 items because we feel like we just need more food to fill us up. So if you look at these items, the top ones are the smallest amount of sodium that they have in the whole place. That's the lowest amount of sodium that you can get. And usually the bottom one in the list is one of the higher ones that we have. So can you imagine eating your chicken quesarito and then realizing later that it's more than half of what you can eat for your sodium intake for the whole day? Now, do we do it? Yes. From time to time, we get our Taco Bell. But what we do is we put it into our food planner the day ahead of time so that we can plan the rest of our day and choose other items that are lower in sodium and lower in cholesterol to make sure that we balance the day. Now, we don't eat it every day. We don't even eat it once a week, but we still like to have that. We love to eat at Lian Chin. Everybody loves Chinese food, but choosing the lemon chicken or the pot stickers, you know, even over the green beans have 5 times the sodium than the pot stickers do. So sometimes things that look healthier that are just vegetables, a lot of times have that added sodium and added chemical, added calories, and added fat that we just don't know about. Does anybody have any questions about fast food? Is there any surprises on here?
I would have to say no surprises, really, no questions, but I just more of a comment. It would be nice if these different establishments were, you know, considered sodium a little bit more in terms of like how much they're putting in foods, because a lot of what is dumped, a lot of sodium that's dumped into foods, into fast food and into processed packaged foods, it's just not necessary. Like, they don't have to put all that sodium in there in order for it to taste good. But sodium's addictive and it keeps people wanting more. It keeps them coming back. So that helps them make more money.
Well, too, and a lot of those places, especially your bars, are going to serve you popcorn and all those other salty things to make you drink more, because the more you drink, the more you pay. And, you know, we kind of get that line. But there are several places, like we go to Red Robin, and you can go to Red Robin, you can ask for anything there, no salt added. When you go to a restaurant, you can choose to ask them for no salt added. They're not going to be able to give you no sodium or low sodium, because there's already that natural sodium that's already in their burger patties and their French fries that they've already put. Then you can choose to add the sodium you want to the end of it, versus the fact of them just taking the salt shaker and dumping it on. I think that that's an important part to talk about. And then also, eating low sodium is not easy. I'm going to tell you, the first 2 months, you will feel like your food is bland. I suggest reducing that shaker, reducing those things, and trying to go low, low, low. Now, our first 2 months were really, really difficult. My husband was like, this doesn't have any taste. And we'll talk about the seasonings here in a little bit. But it takes a little while. I would say after 2 months, your taste buds change and you will need a lot less salt. After a year, I can't eat anything at Panera. I can't eat soup that's out. Everything is way, way, way too salty. So your taste buds do change, but the more salt you shake, the more salt you'll need. The less salt you use, the less you'll need. So what are some healthy alternatives? Because using nothing, I mean, plain old chicken, let's talk about it, is just boring. Doesn't have any flavor to it. We personally like to really work with the Mrs. Dash brand because they have over 15 different options for you. And this is just a snapshot of what they have available. So the chicken we use all the time, the extra spicy, the Fiesta lime we use a lot instead of taco seasonings, or we put it into our taco salads. We also put it on top of like avocado is really good. Tomato basil is really good in soups. We'll even take the Mrs. Dash steak seasoning and we add it to our ground turkey recipes to give it a beefy flavor without having the extra cholesterol, because another part of my husband's restriction is he may only eat red meat once a month, and that's only 4 ounces once a month. So we try to make our foods kind of taste a little bit more steaky or beefy from time to time just to hit that craving. So these are really good options. Flavor Boss also has some really great no salt seasoning, as well as Penzeys do. But I like to work with the Mrs. Dash because you can usually find at least 4 or 5 flavors at any grocery store, Target, Walmart, that we have locally, and you can get them in the stores. The Flavor God and the Penzeys, you do have to order online. There's minimums to be able to get through, and they are a little bit more expensive, maybe slightly better quality, but we are a Mrs. Dash household, and we use probably at least 2 or 3 of these every day. Mix and match, it's fun. One of the biggest mistakes that people get is that we all do it. I see it in the groups every day. They go for this no salt, new salt. Unfortunately, this is something that's on the market. Everybody tries it. What they did was they replaced the sodium with potassium, which is just as bad for your blood pressure and for heart patients. To me, it also tastes like what you would expect road salt to taste like. It tastes like burning. It's awful. I got it home and I put a little bit in my hand and I did this and I threw the whole thing away. I'm like, we're not going to use this. And I see it over and over and over again. People recommending this to people. It's not great. It's not a great option. Don't worry about it. Just pass over it. Stick with the no salt seasonings like a Mrs. Dash, a Penzeys, or a Flavor God. Questions? That was everything. We tried to keep it under the time that we have. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Does anybody have any curiosity on any of the food that was shown?
Yeah, is there like a collection put together so we can take the recipes?
Yeah, everything that we have here, these are all my food. These are my plates. This is what I cooked. And underneath each one has a generalization of what goes into it. I always feel like people are gonna wanna add what they want, but what the calculations that we used at the bottom are all from MyFitnessPal based on the exact foods that are on the plate. Yours might make adjustments, but that's what's on the plate. And if you have any questions about how to cook anything, feel free to reach out to me personally. I know my grilled sweet potatoes, I get a lot of questions on those. Feel free to just ask any question. I'm here afterwards. I've got my contact information for RWK services here. We're located in Bloomington. You can feel free to email me if you'd like more information on our services and what we do. We can definitely take care of that for you, anything on the food or cleaning services. And then here's the resource page for you. So in case you're interested in where you can find more of these things, rwkservices.com is where I work during the day, and at night I'm usually at my KB's Easy Ideas in my group on Facebook or on Instagram. The Facebook group has my recipes, plus I have a couple of other moderators that are putting up other healthy recipes. They're not specifically always low sodium or heart healthy, but what we're looking for is to be able to inspire people just to eat a little bit more healthy each day. And then the Instagram that I have is just always my food. It's everything I've cooked. It's my plates. Anything we have. I also put in a link for the American Heart Association if you'd like to do some more research on how to eat heart healthy and low sodium. And then I did put my food tracking app in there too with my Fitness Pal. That's it. That's all I got.
Awesome.
Any additional questions, comments?
Hey, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Kristen,
I'm
I
not
do
sure if
have a
I'm not sure
question.
if I feel better or worse about myself.
Well, hopefully you'll, the
Just
goal
kidding.
for this is to get you to start looking at the packages. And if you can start just being aware of your sodium, I think that's the most important place to start.
Kristen, I do
Absolutely.
have a question for you.
Yeah.
You mentioned Penzi spices. What are your favorite ones to use?
You know, I haven't used much for the Penzies or the Flavor God. I know they're out there and available. I'm on a little bit stricter of a budget, so I haven't been able to get out there because I think with the Penzies, you have to have at least a $35 minimum to be able to get out there. But I know that there's several that they have available. But I personally, I don't use those. I can go through the Mrs. Dash with you all day. But the Penzies and the Flavor Gods are just another option for you. Do you use the Penzies?
I do. I have several of them that I use. That's why I was kind of curious as to which ones you used and if you had a favorite.
Yeah, not with the Penzies. I would say though with the Mrs. Dash, the onion and herb is probably the onion and herb, the Fiesta lime, and then probably the chicken are the ones that I use the most.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll have to look into that.
And if you can't find them at your grocery store, I know I can't find the steak. I shop at Hy-Vee and Target and I can't find the steak, but I found a really good deal on Amazon to be able to get them. And sometimes Amazon has a couple of them where they've got 3 or 4 in a decent price range. What I like about the Mrs. Dash is they're usually under $4 for a container. So they're really affordable as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Did we have any other questions? Anybody else want to throw something out there, a burning question? All right, if not, wow, thank you again, Kristen. This was excellent. I think the biggest things to take away are that eating healthy and eating low sodium does not have to be boring. It doesn't have to be a chore. These recipes that I'm seeing here, these pictures of the food look amazing. So I'll definitely be checking out your Instagram, your Facebook group, learning a little bit more about how you're cooking things. And I'd love to try some more Mrs. Dash as well. But again, thank you everyone for joining. Definitely be on the lookout for more events in this series, this Boma's Hidden Gems series. We will definitely be hearing more from Kristen Beckman. She has a wealth of other information to provide us with too. And I want to encourage you to sign up as well. If there's something you would like to share, if you can envision yourself doing some sort of presentation like this, and there's something that you're passionate about that you would love for people to know about you, and if there's information that you would like to share with others, we would love to have you be a part. All you have to do is get in touch with me. There's going to be more promotions going on about this. I will definitely be encouraging people to sign up and share. If you know people, if maybe if you're like, this isn't for me, but I know someone who would be interested, someone within the Boma community who would like to do this, definitely send them my way. Thank you so much. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks everybody. Thanks Samantha. Bye. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather.
Thank you, Kristen.